My name is Ethan, and I'm about to tell you the story that shattered my idea of family, love, and identity all at once. I used to think betrayal was loud, explosive, obvious. I was wrong. Sometimes betrayal is quiet. Sometimes it sits at your dinner table, sometimes it calls you son. My father, Daniel, was never the kind of man people warned you about. He didn't drink, he didn't hit us, he paid the bills on time. From the outside, he was solid. Dependable, but emotionally, he was a locked door. I remember being 8 years old, standing in the living room holding a drawing I made at school. It was a picture of our family, my mom, my dad, and me. I had drawn him bigger than the rest of us because I thought that's what fathers were supposed to be, larger than life. Dad, look, I said. He glanced at it for maybe 2 seconds. That's nice, buddy. That was it. No hug, no real smile. Just distance. When I turned 7, he started traveling more. Business trips, my mom said. Sometimes he'd be gone for days, sometimes a week. I remember watching my mom stare at her phone late at night, pretending she wasn't worried. But I never questioned it. Kids normalize what they grow up with. The girl who felt like home, I met Olivia when I was 22. She wasn't the loudest girl in the room. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She just had this calm confidence, like she knew who she was. We started talking after that coffee shop moment. It wasn't fireworks, it was warmth. The first night we really talked, we sat in my car outside her apartment until 3 a.m. What scares you the most? She asked me. Becoming my father, I said without thinking. She looked at me like she understood something deeper than I'd said. My dad left when I was 7, she told me. He didn't physically disappear, he just stopped showing up. 7. Something about that number echoed inside me, but I ignored it. We started dating, and it felt different from anything I'd had before. She wasn't just someone I liked, she felt familiar. Our humor was identical. Our emotional triggers matched. Even the way we processed anger was the same. We both went quiet instead of exploding. Sometimes I'd look at her and think, why does this feel so natural? The photo that changed everything. 3 months in, she invited me to meet her mom. I was nervous but excited. It felt serious. Their apartment was warm and cozy, family photos everywhere, and then I saw it. A framed picture on a wooden dresser, a younger man holding a little girl on his shoulders. My chest tightened. I stepped closer. The jawline, the slight scar near the eyebrow, the exact way he half-smiled without showing teeth. It was my father. Not similar, not kind of. It was him. That's your dad? I asked carefully. Olivia's mom nodded. Yes, he left us years ago. When? My voice barely worked. When she was 7. My ears started ringing. 7. The same year my father's business trips started. The investigation. I didn't say anything that night, but something inside me had already shifted. I went home and did something I'd never done before. I searched old boxes. Old tax documents, leases, bank statements. I found a rental agreement from 15 years ago. The address, her address. The dates matched the exact period he was supposedly traveling. I stared at the paper for a long time. There's a moment when your brain tries to protect you. It says, "This can't be real," but your body already knows. The truth from his mouth. I confronted him the next day. He was sitting in the living room watching the news. "Do you know Olivia?" I asked. He frowned slightly. Then something changed in his face. A flicker of recognition, a flicker of fear. That was enough. "Answer me." He muted the TV. "I hoped you'd never find out," he said. "Find out what?" My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. "She's my daughter." Time didn't slow down, it stopped. "She's my daughter," he repeated, which meant she was my half-sister. The moment I broke, I didn't yell, I didn't punch a wall. I just stood there feeling like my skin didn't fit anymore. "You had another family?" I asked. He didn't deny it. "I made mistakes." Mistakes? A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, not creating an entirely separate life. "You watched me grow up," I said. "You watched me fall in love with her." His silence was worse than any confession. Telling Olivia that night, I met her at the park where we first said, "I love you." She smiled when she saw me. And I knew I was about to destroy that smile forever. "We need to talk," I said. Her expression changed immediately. "Ethan, you're scaring me. My dad is your dad." She blinked, then laughed. "Okay, stop." I showed her the lease, the timeline, a picture of my father. Her face went white. "No," she whispered. "Yes." She sat down on the bench slowly, like gravity had doubled. "I always wondered why he stopped calling," she said. "Why he just faded away." I couldn't even reach for her hand. Because suddenly everything between us felt forbidden, poisoned, wrong, even though we hadn't known. I fell in love with you, she said quietly, and that sentence felt like someone pressed a knife into my chest. Me too. The month of silence, we didn't talk for 4 weeks, 4 weeks of replaying every memory. Our first kiss, our first fight, the way she'd rest her head on my shoulder, every memory now carried a shadow. I avoided my father completely. He tried to talk to me once. I was going to tell you someday. When? I asked. At my wedding, he had no answer. Facing the truth together, Olivia texted me one night. We have to confront them. We met both parents in one room. My mom looked confused, then devastated. Olivia's mom looked like she'd been stabbed twice, once years ago and once again now. You lied to everyone, Olivia said to him. He started crying. I had never seen him cry in my life. I loved both of you, he said weakly. You loved yourself, I replied. That was the first time I spoke to him without fear. Without needing his approval, without seeing him as bigger than life. He wasn't bigger, he was small. The hardest goodbye. Olivia and I walked out together. We stood in the parking lot for a long time. I don't know who I am anymore, she said. I don't know who he is, I answered. We both laughed through tears. Because what else do you do when your entire foundation collapses? We didn't do anything wrong, she whispered. I know. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. We didn't kiss goodbye, we didn't hug for long. We just stood there, two people who loved each other, connected by blood we never asked for, and we let each other go. What this did to me, people think the worst part was losing her. It wasn't. The worst part was realizing my entire childhood was built on selective truth. Every business trip, every distant moment, every time he seemed emotionally divided. He wasn't confused, he was split between two realities. And I was just half of one. The last conversation with my father a week later, he came to my apartment. I never meant for you to find out like this, he said. How did you mean for it to happen? I asked. He didn't answer. You don't get to decide when truth becomes convenient, I told him. He looked older, smaller. I was afraid, he admitted. Of what? Losing you, I stared at him. You lost me the moment you chose a lie. If you're listening to this, if you think secrets protect people, they don't. They delay destruction, and when truth finally comes, it doesn't knock, it detonates. I fell in love with a girl who felt like home, and I discovered that home had cracks running through it long before I was born. I don't hate my father, but I no longer see him as a hero. And maybe that's the real coming-of-age story, realizing your parents are just flawed humans capable of loving you and capable of breaking you. This is my story, and I'm still learning how to live with it. People think the explosion is the worst part. It's not. The silence after is. 3 months passed after Olivia and I ended things. 3 months of pretending I was fine. I went to work. I went to the gym. I laughed when friends made jokes. I answered messages. I acted normal. But inside, something had shifted permanently. I couldn't look at families the same way anymore. Every time I saw a father holding his daughter's hand in public, I felt this strange mix of anger and grief. Not because my father left, but because he stayed and lied. I hadn't told my mom at first. I didn't know how. How do you tell someone that their entire marriage was only half the story, but secrets rot when you keep them inside? So one evening, I sat her down at the kitchen table. I need to tell you something about Dad. She looked at me carefully. What did he do? The fact that she asked that so calmly told me she already knew he was capable of something. When I told her about Olivia, about the second family, about the years overlapping, she didn't cry immediately. She just went very, very quiet. How long? She asked. Years, she nodded slowly. I always knew something wasn't right, she said, but I chose not to see it. That sentence hit me harder than I expected. Sometimes betrayal isn't just one person's lie, sometimes it's another person's silence. 2 weeks later, my father moved out. No dramatic screaming, no thrown plates, just boxes. My mom stood in the hallway while he carried them to the car. He tried to look at her. She wouldn't meet his eyes. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small around him. I felt taller, not physically. Morally, he looked like a man who had built 2 houses out of glass and finally watched them shatter. Take care of yourself, he said to me. I didn't answer, because I didn't know if I wanted to. 4 months after everything, Olivia texted me. Can we talk? My heart still reacted the same way it always had when her name appeared on my screen. We met at a quiet diner outside the city. She looked different, stronger, sadder. I started therapy, she said. Me too. We both smiled a little at that. I kept asking myself if what we felt was real, she said. Or if it was just biology. That question had haunted me too. Were we drawn to each other because of shared trauma or because we shared blood? I think it was real, I said. That's what makes it harder, she nodded. I don't regret loving you, she whispered. That almost broke me again because neither did I. A week later, my father asked to meet. I almost didn't go, but something in me needed closure. We met at a park bench, neutral ground. He looked older than he had just months before. Why? I asked him. Why two families? Why risk everything? He took a long time to answer. I didn't plan it, he said. It just happened. That's not an explanation, he sighed. When I met her mother, I felt seen in a way I didn't at home. I felt my jaw tighten. So you created a new life instead of fixing the one you had? I was selfish, he admitted. At least he said it. At some point, he continued, I didn't know how to leave either life without destroying someone, so you destroyed everyone instead, I replied. He didn't argue. Before we left, I asked him something I had been holding inside. When you found out I was dating Olivia, did you know? His silence lasted too long. I suspected, he said quietly. My stomach dropped. You suspected? I saw her picture on your phone once. I hoped I was wrong. You hoped, I almost laughed, so you just let it continue. I panicked. That was the moment something inside me hardened, not rage, clarity. He wasn't a monster, he was weak. And weakness, when combined with secrecy, becomes destruction. A month later, Olivia told me she was moving to another state. Fresh start, she said. I understood. Some cities carry too many ghosts. The night before she left, we met one last time. No drama, no grand speeches. Just honesty. I don't want us to disappear completely, she said. We won't, I promised, because no matter what label society would put on it, we shared something real, and painful, and complicated. We hugged longer than we probably should have, not like lovers, not like siblings, just like two souls who survived the same earthquake. It's been a year now. My parents are officially divorced. My father lives alone. I speak to him occasionally, short conversations, controlled distance, not out of hatred, but boundaries. Olivia and I check in once in a while. She sounds lighter now. So do I. The strangest part, I don't feel broken anymore. I feel aware. I learned that love can be real and still be wrong for reasons beyond your control. I learned that parents are not gods. They are flawed, frightened humans making decisions they think they can manage. And I learned something about myself. I will never build a life on half-truths. I will never gamble someone else's heart for my own comfort, because I know what that damage looks like. I lived it. If you've ever discovered something about your family that changed everything, you're not alone. Truth hurts, but truth also frees you from living inside someone else's lie. I loved a girl. I lost a relationship. I lost an image of my father, but I gained something else. Clarity, and sometimes clarity costs everything, but it's still worth it.